Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Again for the First Time. And you are not kidding when you are called again for the first time because I have not spoken to my brother in almost 6 minutes. And so it's been a while. And, um, you know, I was going to have you on to talk about the way you prepare for the Around the Ballpark podcast. And if you're not listening to the podcast or the live show, shame on you. We are growing exponentially. I want to talk to you about the process and things like that. And we'll do that down the road, talk about the 30 ballparks in 30 days and all that kind of stuff. But I got inundated with people asking me about what the heck happened at the Royal Rumble yesterday. Mike Redmond, first of all, tell people who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then answer that question with a little teaser about your show on Monday nights.
Thank you. I will do. And yes, so my name is Mike Redmond, and I probably do a little bit too much, but my reward will be in heaven, so that's okay. But right now, I am a Backyard Kids, a children's director slash pastor for the children's ministry where I'm at. Also, full-time work and full-time job as well. As Darren mentioned, myself and Darren, we do the Around the Ballpark podcast. Also attending Life Christian University and oversee the men's ministry at the church as well. And there's a few other things, but
Softball.
softball as well. But with softball, my wife is doing a phenomenal job running the team in my absence. And when I do go to the games now, I just sit in the bleachers. It's very awkward because I need to be out there playing, but she's got this. So I'm going to sit in the bleachers. I'm going to be a cheerleader
Mm-hmm.
until I turn 45 when I can play in the senior league, which is super exciting. So that's only 2 years away. So I can play and go to Life Christian University at the same time. So, um,
Love
but
that.
all those things, husband, parent, father, and that's most important.
Child of God.
All that stuff. Yes. So none of those things are as important as that. So I always try to keep that into perspective. And sometimes we fall short, and that's okay because we pick ourselves up and do it again
Mhm.
better the next day. So
That's right. So what happened at the Royal Rumble? Why was my phone blowing up?
I didn't see it.
All right. Well, there you go. Good night, everybody.
So the Royal Rumble. So this event is the most important event to a wrestling fan on the entire calendar. We have WrestleMania. It is what it is. It's the granddaddy, but the WrestleMania is kind of like the Super Bowl where like everyone gets together, they watch it, but the diehard fan, it's all about the Royal Rumble. And I watched the first episode of the Royal Rumble in 1988, which was won by Hacksaw Jim Duggan, USA. I was 7 years old, and I watched the next one with Big John Studd in 1989, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we are now here in 2025. And I remember watching those first ones on a tiny little screen, black and white snow. And it just each year got a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit better. But it's nothing like having people over. And there was a couple years there where the product was really bad. Those of you that follow WWE know from about 2017 to about 2020, it was unwatchable. So it was a pain to watch it every single week, hoping for 1 week of goodness. I think we got one or two good episodes in a 4 year span, but stuck with it. And so uh, here we are now, 2025 Royal Rumble. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to invite a few people over. We usually just come in the room, we watch it on the TV and stuff. And we were able to go outside the back. We had a fire pit. We had some tiki torches on the side there. And Eddie, good old friend Eddie Anthony, Eddie Frost, came, brought all of his equipment. We had the projection screen going, sound
Nice.
everywhere. It was so nice. So we had, a bunch of seats, a bunch of good food. And so my favorite thing to do at these Royal Rumbles, besides watching them, is we do a fun little thing because those that know the Rumble, there's 30 men and 30 women in respective Rumbles. So you each get a number. So there was, let's say, I think there were 11 of us that wanted to play the pick pool. We had more of us here, and we each got a number between 1 and 30. We each got two numbers actually, and if your number was the number of the person who won the rumble, then you got the pot. And so basically everyone threw in $5. And so it gives you a reason to cheer on whoever it is you get, even if they probably have no chance of winning. And so it makes it for a really fun hour and a half long match of just yelling at the TV and hooting and hollering and jumping and clapping and all that good stuff. So such a good time. And so last night is the first Royal Rumble really under the Triple H era with no more Vince McMahon, which is a beautiful thing. And we only had 4 matches last night. And so kicked off. You want me to kind of get into the recap of the show, the results,
As
or?
much as you want without giving away anything that you're going to do tomorrow night.
Okay. So only 4 matches, which is a beautiful number. They started off with the Women's Royal Rumble, 30 women. And what was beautiful about this year compared to the other years was in other years, they always had to bring back Nostalgia Act after Nostalgia Act just to get enough women in the match. And this year, there's so much talent in their developmental team, which is NXT, that they only had to bring one person back from the nostalgia era, which is okay. One is okay, two is okay, but they didn't need 9 or 10 or 11 like they've been doing. So they showcased the talent that is the current and the future. I didn't agree with the winner because she's already won before, but she's already at 11 or 12-time world champion. I'm talking about, of course, Charlotte Flair. The match itself was the best women's rumble that they've had in the 8 years of the women's rumbles. But the outcome, the finish, was not a big fan of Charlotte winning that. She's been there, done that. I know they want about, it's all about the marquee name at WrestleMania. I get that, but I would have went a completely different direction. But with that said, the match itself was super entertaining. And just to see how far the women have come, it's no longer about what they're wearing or anything like that. The gratuitous nonsense that was Vince
Nonsense.
McMahon's era. Now it's just about get in the ring, let's fight, and see
Let's
what happens.
wrestle.
Yep,
Let's
let's
wrestle.
wrestle.
Yeah.
And so just an awesome match there. Then from there, we went into our tag team title match between DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns, and DIY retain their tag team championships in a 2 out of 3 falls match. The crowd was a little bit dead on this one because they were so high. The second match is always the hardest match on the show because your number one opening match is a bam, starts off with a bang, and then people go get their refreshments, go to the bathroom, all that stuff. So it's hard to keep that momentum for that second match. So then from there, we went into our World Heavyweight Championship match between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes for the championship, which Cody Rhodes retained after a bloodbath. There were people diving off every ladder you could think of. I think I saw 16 ladders in that match. It was a bit ridiculous. So great match there. And then your main event, which was the men's Royal Rumble. And they say it all before, oh, this is the biggest one yet, but this legitimately had more star power. We had John Cena, we had Roman Reigns. Because when I say that, because in recent years, there's 2 or 3 people that could potentially be a winner. But this year, you can name about 8 or 9 people that could realistically win. This year, we had John Cena, we had Roman Reigns, we had Seth Rollins, we had Drew McIntyre, we had CM Punk, we had Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu. We had Logan Paul, who's a great professional wrestler, as arrogant and annoying as he can be. He is a great wrestler between the ropes. With that said, I named all those names. None of them won the Royal Rumble. And in every other year, it's always the most predictable person that wins the Rumble. But this year, it was not the case. The winner was main event Jey Uso, who has been putting in the work this entire year, injury free, but he's been a tag team guy for his entire career. And shout out to Triple H and WWE for booking that decision for Jey Uso, the most deserving and the most popular WWE superstar right now, getting the win, eliminating John Cena as they were the final two in that match. So an outstanding night, one of the best Rumbles I've seen. I've seen every single one of them. So I would put that in the, closer to the fourth, fifth best Rumble that they've ever had.
Then why was there such a reaction, a negative reaction by some? It seems like there was some people who were very happy with it and not very happy at all.
Yeah, so great question. So the people that were not happy, they felt like main event Jey Uso didn't deserve it when you had so much other star power in the ring. But those are the same people that year after year complain that it's always so predictable. This one's going to win, and we knew he was going to win. So those same people are now trying to backpedal their own words and saying, oh, well, he doesn't deserve it. There's bigger names out there. Yes, there's bigger names out there. But in sports, and especially in WWE, sometimes it's about who's the hottest hand, and there's no hotter hand right now than main event Jey Uso. The guy gets every fan off their desk. There was a visual, if you want to YouTube it, Google it, whatever, of all 3 announcers after Jey Uso won the match, standing on the announce desk, doing the Jey Uso dance on the
Mhm.
table with the entire crowd, and that was beautiful. So those upset that John Cena didn't win, we all love John Cena, but let's be honest, he hasn't actually won a match in 7 years. And
Yes, a
that's
long
because
time.
he's part-time, but he doesn't need the championship just yet. I know you want him to pass Ric Flair's reign, and he will, but this isn't the time. WrestleMania is not the time. Elimination Chamber is not the time. He'll get his due later this year, but he's about putting other talent over. And so that was not something we needed to see.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns was Universal Champion for 4 years. So I think it's okay that we pass the baton on
Oh,
to
I
someone
agree.
a little bit.
Well, this is why I'm going to the source and people s- subscribe, hit that subscribe button, watch every Monday. Mike, and who's your guest host this week?
So this week I will be writing solo because of other
Oh,
commitments
great.
and stuff. So that'll
Not
be
great. You know
okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll have the source all to yourself.
Yeah.
But
So I'll be
before,
just me this week, and then a good friend of mine, Robert Shoemaker, will be on with me next week. So that'll be good too. But
so I also had people reach out to me. What happened to with Drew McIntyre? Why was he so
yes.
upset?
So details are still kind of scarce about that, but what we do know to be true was so Drew was not going to win, but Drew was supposed to do more in the Rumble than he did, and something went wrong with the elimination, and he got to the back, he stormed out of the arena, said some things, but his reason for his frustration is he claimed, and we don't know who, but he said that there was one talent in the ring that was more concerned about getting himself and his move set over than he was doing the job that he was supposed to do. And so no one was named, so that could be anybody. And I'm sure that name will come out if it's meant to come out. So that was his frustration. I think, it could just be he just signed a new contract, so we know he's happy being there and he's a great storyteller. But this isn't the first time that he's stormed out. He stormed out at the Survivor Series 2023 when CM Punk made his debut. So who knows if that was related to CM Punk? It might have been John Cena, which I doubt. I mean, he's as company guy as there is. But that was the reason for that. He was just wasn't upset. He was upset that someone went into business for themselves, and I think something went wrong. He got eliminated sooner than he was supposed to, or something to that regard. So I'm sure that will come out there, but that's where we're at now. And also, too, as big as a deal as Netflix is, Netflix, they have two shows. They have WWE Monday Night Raw and they have Friday Night SmackDown. And Friday Night SmackDown, they paid a lot of money to get that product on the USA Network. Not as much as Netflix, but they paid a lot of money. But not every superstar can be on Netflix. Somebody has to be on the USA Network. And I think Drew McIntyre is being moved over, not because he's less than, but he's being moved over because they need star power on that Friday night show. And hopefully he can see the bigger
Which is
picture.
different than the next show. That's a whole different show, correct?
That's the third show. Yes, the third
Yes.
brand is NXT, which is Tuesday night, which is a developmental show. So they do have some superstars in that show that are ready to go up right now, and they also have a lot of individuals that are up and coming that are still doing the training and whatnot. And so that is on the CW network on Tuesdays. So the talent in NXT work their way up. Basically, it's like the minor league system. But like I said, there's a few super ready guys down there right now. We just gotta wait their time to be called up because they don't, want to be
So
oversaturated. But
you're going from the Tuesday night show, Friday night show, and then the top shows at the Monday night show.
yeah, so Monday Night Show is looked at as the top show. For the last 4 years, the Friday Night Show was looked at because it was on Fox. SmackDown was on Fox. That was looked at as a high priority show. Now that the Netflix $1 billion or the $5 billion deal is made, it's looked at as Raw is the top show. But when you come up from NXT, your dream is to work for WWE. So you go to NXT and then you either go to SmackDown or Raw. So most people, if they get put on SmackDown instead of Raw, they're 1,000% fine with it because they're still in the big show. But of course, everybody wants that Raw exposure because more people have Netflix in their homes than they do USA Network.
So,
And
so there's good wrestling still on USA cable. I mean, so you could if you don't have Netflix, right? I mean,
yeah, every Friday night right now, it's a 3 hour program. It's going to go down to two, but it's a 3 hour program from 8 to 11 every Friday night. And they still have a good roster. They don't have the size roster that Raw does, but they do have the champion Cody Rhodes. They have Kevin Owens. They have Randy Orton. They have the tag team champions. So they have Charlotte Flair. They do have a pretty stacked women's roster as well. So
no, I was
not
going to
to
say
be
those are good names.
yeah, and of
So,
course, and they have Roman Reigns, 4 year Universal Champions on the show. Jacob Fatu, the Bloodline. They've got talent there. It's just a lot of the big names like your Seth Rollins, your CM Punks, your Drew McIntyres, all that were on Raw, but now it seems like Drew's moving over to SmackDown. So
So, pardon me for using a soccer term, but you know how in soccer the bottom two, three teams in the division get regulated to a low division?
yes,
So, is McIntyre looking at this as sort of being regulated to the Friday show?
I think he's smart enough to know that that's not the case. But I think he has more of a problem with other talent going into business for themselves and not being
Gotcha.
part of the WWE, and they're more like looking to put themselves over. I don't think at the end of the day he's got his money coming in. I think he'd be fine working for, they could put him on Tuesday mornings probably for all he cares. But you know, it's not about how you get yourself over in the ring. You want to make sure the other guy doesn't get injured and you do
Oh
all the
yeah,
spots that you
100%.
need to do. Yep.
100%. But no, listen, so if somebody wants to watch you, speaking of Monday nights, you do watch parties every Monday night, correct?
Yes.
Tell our viewers and listeners what you do and how they can get a hold of you and watch you tomorrow night live.
Yes, no, thank you. So it's called the Around the Ballpark podcast. So you can find us on YouTube. We just got over the 1,700 subscriber plateau, which is awesome. So if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button. Go to youtube.com, look up Around the Ballpark, hit subscribe, and turn your notifications on, because the worst thing to do is subscribe and then not know when we're live. So you got to turn those notifications on.
That's
But we
right.
are live every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, talking a little bit in the world of sports, and sometimes we venture out just a little bit, but also every Monday night as well, covering the live broadcast of Monday Night Raw. Now, if you're not familiar with a live watch along, though, it is not live in terms of you can watch the show here on YouTube or on YouTube. That's frowned upon. We can't do that. So what
Mm.
we do is we have it on in the background. You can hear the audio, and we will watch it live together and comment on it directly as it happens. So basically, a video version of X is the way I look at it. Is
Mm.
all those thousands of people that enjoy commenting on X. So the same thing here, but we got video attached to it, and you can put your comments in, and we can talk about it live during the podcast. So it's a lot of fun.
People, I highly suggest that's what you do. There's nobody that I know of, much less know, who knows more about wrestling, especially WWE. And Mike Redmond is the man. Mike, thank you so much for filling those gaps because I was like, I don't know how to make an eyes. I don't know. So I'm gonna
Yep.
text.
Yep. No, I appreciate it. No, I anytime I love talking about it. It's a great a lot of times you get asked, oh, do you watch Ultimate Fighting and whatnot, and wrestling
No,
scripted and stuff like that. But you know what? Like if you watch Ultimate Fighting, you're probably gonna get wrist locks and toe holds for long periods of time, or you're gonna get a fight over in 5 seconds. At least with the WWE product, you're getting several hours worth of entertainment for a very, very low price, monthly price. And so we kind of look past, okay, we know we've known it's not real since the 80s, but movies aren't real. It's a production, and we got to look at it as such. And if you watch
exactly
the
right.
WWE product today in 2025, the pyro, the camera angles, the drone shots, the lighting, the sound, everything is on point to the minute each and every week. It's just amazing what they do. And so even if wrestling's not your thing, give it a shot. Just enjoy. A lot of times we watch movies and we may not like the plot, but we like the cinematography and we like the
Yep,
soundtrack,
that's a
whatever.
great point.
Yeah, you can't not watch. One of the biggest critiques of WWE for the last several years was the guys that were in charge were doing 600 different camera angles back and forth that get you nauseous almost. And now it's just so clean and crisp. And they're constantly reinventing themselves each and every week with different camera shots and wrestlers coming from the top, from the side, from the bathroom. They're trying each and everything. And it's such a good it improved so much from what it had been the last several years under the Vince McMahon regime, and now under Triple H.
I'm glad he's gone. It was time.
Yes.
Actually, I was going to let you go, but I got one last question. You mentioned about movies, and I do a whole thing with my partner, DJ Don Jackman, that with the D&D Diner. What was your opinion of the Iron Claw?
So the Iron Claw I thought it was well made. I think that I appreciate the because to take a role like that, it's not easy. Like one thing that comes to mind sometimes is maybe like Gladiator or
Hmm.
I'm sorry, 300, where you got to get beefed up and work out real hard to get to that role and stuff. So you don't just take Iron Claw, just show up, and there's a lot of work that's got to be put into that. It's not the top of the top for me in terms of wrestling movies or whatnot, but it was certainly nowhere near the bottom as well. So
A good
definitely
try.
enjoyed it. Mhm.
A good try.
Yeah,
What
definitely a
I
good try.
found amazing, I wanted to talk to you about, and we'll do it some another time, but the story, there was another brother, and they didn't even go into that. There was even an additional brother who lost his life.
Yeah, the Von Erich family had they I think every single one of them, something happened to every Von Erich, whether it was self-harm or just a tragedy or whatnot. It was just unbelievable, how much could happen to one family. But um, too many people way before their time, unfortunately,
Yep.
passed in that family. So
Mental illness is a horrible and a real thing.
yeah, definitely. And there's some other great films out there in
What
the
is the best wrestling movie in your opinion?
I think I gotta say the wrestling movie that got it the most accurate, I think, is The Wrestler, with
What a
Mickey,
great movie. I'm glad you said
because
that.
yeah, because it really, a lot of the times you see these guys and they're larger than life, right? And you appreciate what they do and you're in it, but then they go away for a little while. You miss them a little bit, but then 2 to 4 years pass, and it's like their bodies can't do that anymore. So it's not like they're in acting where they can continue to take movie roles. So what happens is at 52 years old, at 55 years old, they're taking gigs instead of performing over 17,000 people. They're taking gigs at an armory for 27 people, and
Hmm.
it's a shame what they have to do to their bodies to not be in pain and take different medications, and alcohol gets involved, drugs gets involved, and all of a sudden this thing that they love to do, they're holding on to it because they have to do signings. If they don't do if they're not doing signings, they have to work in the ring, and you shouldn't be having to work in the ring at 55 years old,
No.
putting your body through that. And so thought it was very well made, and a good indication for or appreciation for what they do, and what the toll it takes on them. Basically, they're giving up everything. They're giving up their families, whether even if it works out, you're on the road for 200, and I think they said 250 something days out of the 365 days a
Crazy.
year. It's insane. Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. And Mike Redmond was my guest here, and we talked about wrestling. And make sure that you watch his podcast, his live show tomorrow night around the ballpark. And thank you, Mike. We'll see you soon.
You're very welcome. See you soon. Thank you so much for having me.